5 reasons why the alleged chromosome 2 fusion site is a lie. First, we would expect thousands and thousands of repetitive sequences at the proposed fusion site, but we only find several hundred. You see, thousands of intact telomere motifs at the fusion site would be expected if the evolutionary model was true and that intact telomeres somehow failed. The exact opposite is what we see, falsifying the theory immediately. Second, interstitial telomeric repeat sequences are found throughout the human chromosomes, and not unique to only human chromosome 2. And these repeats perform a functional regulatory role in DNA. Next, the alleged fusion site is actually a functional promoter element, which is expressed in half of all major tissue types and also serves regulatory functions, making it a highly expressed and highly complex gene not found in apes. Next, one does not move up the evolutionary ladder by losing information. Humans have 6,000 less genes than chimps, with 50 that are not found in any chimpanzee. Next, we only find several hundred repetitive sequences, 1/10 the size of a real centromere. Sequences are not specific to centromeres found throughout human chromosomes. 6. We should find traces of satellite DNA sequences at, around, or near the fusion site. We do not. 7. The highly constrained TPP1 gene in all humans acts to prevent fusion. 8. TRF2 protects chromosome ends by maintaining the correct structure of telomeres. TRF2 would have to break instantly to allow a telomere-to-telomere fusion head-to-head event to occur. 9. The alleged cryptic centromere site is a key sequence found within the functional gene Ankerium repeat domain 30B, a protein coding gene, also known as ANKRD 30BL, covering both intronic and exonic sequences. 10. The active DDX11L2 gene is located inside the fusion site. Genes are never like this. 11. Telomeres don't occur in the middle of genes, and genes aren't ever around telomeres. Both the alleged site of fusion and the cryptic centromere of human chromosome 2 are positioned inside functional genes. Furthermore, the alleged site of fusion has been proven to be a functional promoter in the second intron of a non-coding RNA gene. 12. Phantom 4, Phantom 5, and ENCODE are all databases. All 3 databases show transcript initiation within the 798 bases alleged fusion site sequences in the classic transcription start site cluster signature for a gene promoter, discovered in 2015 by Haberle. 13. Chromosome fusion in humans today leave people less fertile, lowering the chance to spread the mutation. 14. No homology exists for the fusion region to the ends of chimpanzee chromosomes 2A and 2B. 15. Interstitial telomeric sequences discovered were involved in gene regulation, especially in regard to their role in transcription factor binding and transcription start site activity and translation. All 5 interstitial telomeric sequences discovered were located in the exons of protein coding genes. 16. Sometimes chromosomes do fuse in humans, specifically 13, 14, 15, 21, and 22, but they only ever fuse acrocentrically, meaning only the small p arm of centromeres fuse in what is called a Robertsonian fusion. Nothing at all what chromosome 2 fusion would have been like. 17. There are 2 main classes of MSY sequences shared between 2 species, ampliconic and X-degenerate. Humans always have X-transposed sequences, but the chimp does not. 18. If human chromosome 2 were indeed the result of an end-to-end fusion from chimp chromosome 2A and 2B, then we would expect to find the fusion sites surrounded by DNA sequences highly similar. We do not. 19. The precise match in gene order between human chromosome 2 and the corresponding chimpanzee chromosome is actually unknown. Unfortunately, when the chimpanzee DNA sequence was explained, the researchers did not independently determine the gene order along all the chimpanzee chromosomes, and this led to a flawed overestimation of the overall gene similarity between the two species. However, the two chimpanzee chromosomes for which the gene order has been precisely determined, the human chromosome Y and the chromosome 22, the Y chromosome possesses a gene order dramatically different from humans. So, the overall match in gene order between human chromosome 2 and the appropriate chimp chromosome 12 and 13, aka 2A and 2Q, is not clear. So, when they use it as evidence, they are speaking from a place of ignorance or lies. All we know is that there are low numbers of repetitive sequences and active beneficial genes found in these locations. 20. The alleged degenerated telomeres and second centromere do not exist in the human chromosome 2. They have functional DNA elements and genes. 21. The human chromosome 2 is smaller by 10%. That's around 24 million DNA bases compared to chimps. 22. Evolutionists cannot account for why the ancestral centromeric sequences do not match in humans. Their two rescue devices for this discrepancy is that maybe the chimp chromosome 2P overrode 2Q long ago, or maybe the human-specific relic centromeric sequences got lost in the existing chimpanzee genomes of today. So either way they look at it, the evidence doesn't line up looking at neither human nor chimp. So with no evidence at all, they go back to their bread and butter and just make up stories to sell to the public. Anything they can do to align with the fable that they made up. 23. There are about 150,000 base pairs that are in the human chromosome that are not in the chimp chromosome. It's not just some simple fusion like they say. Do not be deceived. 21. Newly discovered functions of interstitial telomeric repeat sequences is the death blow to the fusion event. The regulatory roles are not evidence for a fusion event, but hard evidence against it, because by finding these interstitial telomeric sequences throughout the internal regions of chromosomes, they cannot be used as evidence for leftover junk telomeres by way of a fusion, because they also exist on other chromosomes, including chromosomes that have never been fused. Then the news gets worse for them when they discovered them to have transcription factor binding domain properties and transcription start sites associations. These discoveries have now falsified the assumption that they had all along, that what they thought they were looking at were leftover telomere remnants inside the chromosome from a fusion event, but instead are active functional DNA elements and not leftover telomeres from a fusion. Therefore, the interstitial telomeric repeat sequences show strong evidence of design rather than the evolutionary accidents. 25. Logic. Ask yourself, why would primitive caveman go into a harmful extinction level bottleneck and modern day man come out? It's not logical and violates Occam's razor on every level. As telomeres in humans shorten, they lose their protection ability, and the more prone to disease and death one becomes. If they were to break off altogether, then a catastrophic cascade of disease would be imminent for the individual, let alone a cross-species fusion event in an elderly individual who would now have to spread the mutation into the population, even though it is now known that heterozygous individuals like that are less fertile. As you can see, plenty of evidence exists to falsify the chromosome 2 fusion hypothesis, yet the fable lingers on. The evidence is ignored because their entire ape-to-man theory hinges on this single concept being true, and it is not. The fact is, chromosomal disorders are the norm. Between 1979 and 2003, the number of babies born with Down syndrome increased by 30%. Other types of chromosomal disorders include trisomy 13 and 18, Klinefelter syndrome, and Turner syndrome. These are 4 types of chromosomal mutations, deletions and duplications, inversions and translocations. There are many different chromosomal disorders, and they can even have a variety of symptoms. Possible symptoms of these disorders may include both mild and severe levels of mental retardation, heart and circulatory issues, and cleft palates. Other symptoms may include seizures and learning disabilities, and chromosome fusions in humans today always have a negative consequence as well. Nothing about a chromosome fusion would push a primate to a human. Consider speciation through chromosomal fusions for just a second. 6 instances of speciations in house mice on Mandaria within the past 500 years have been the consequence of geographic isolation and multiple chromosomal fusions. Yet they tell us just a single fusion in humans was the major genomic cause to the shift of humans from chimps. Yet some of these Mandarian mice have undergone 9 fusions. Yet they are no closer to being anything other than a mouse, or even physiologically different mouse. So again, even though all these fusion events have occurred, not a single new species of mouse is closer to being something physiologically different than the house mouse that it was before the fusion. Nothing anatomically or physiologically different whatsoever, and certainly not as different as a human is from an ape, which supposedly was just a single fusion event. Here's one final thing to consider. Logically, we can look at the chromosomes and notice that a common theme is occurring. They start at 1 and go down in size, shrinking as you go up the chromosome ladder in numbers. So what are the odds that a fusion would result in a perfect ratio in size to fit with this criteria? Because when we look at the chimp chromosome chart, it does not match or line